Hello and welcome. I am Ladi Akiriduluale. Tonight, Minister of State for Petroleum Pt. Kachiku attributes cause of fuel scarcity in parts of the country to shortfalls in supply, says emergency measures in place to end the crisis. Former Minister of Sports and Chairman of the PDP in Plateau State, Damishi Sango, and others kidnapped by gunmen on their way to Abuja. Our big story tonight focuses on returned Nigerian migrants as they recount their journey through the desert to Libya. And violence breaks out in the West Bank and Gaza Strip following President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
And in business news tonight, Nigeria's crude oil exports for January expected to drop to 1.76 million barrels per day after reaching a 21-month high this month.
In sports news tonight, Cristiano Ronaldo beats Lionel Messi and Neymar to win his 5th Ballon d'Or.
And from Abuja, President Buhari reaffirms resolve to tackle corruption and revamp the economy as he meets with Kano residents in a town hall.
We begin with the reaction of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Pt. Kachiku, to the lingering scarcity of fuel in some parts of the country, particularly the nation's capital, Abuja. The minister says the major cause of the scarcity of petrol is a shortfall in the supply of petroleum products. Dr. Kachiku explains that some of the private sector players involved in the importation of petroleum products had pushbacks, which meant that only the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is importing the product. But he assures Nigerians the steps are being taken to ensure that the queues disappear by the weekend. Dr. Kachiku's position contradicts that of the NNPC GMD, Dr. Mekanti Baru, who had earlier said that Nigeria has enough fuel in stock to satisfy the needs of Nigerians during the Yuletide.
There was obviously some level of gap in terms of volume. And that gap arises from the fact that NNPC is the only one who is importing a product currently. Most of the people who were expected in private sector to import product were not able to bring in products. And some of them have pushed back on the days they're able to bring products into January. And so you have NNPC rapidly trying to fill up the product requirement at 100% capacity basis. Now, luckily, there was enough some good storage, which they're releasing right now. They're also taking emergency steps to try and fill whatever gap that they see in the December period. Post-January, not so much of an issue because most of the deliveries expected should be coming in. I understand, in fact, for December, we're looking at about four cargoes coming over the next few days, but cumulatively close to about 20 to 30 cargoes. So it's a timing issue. Timing because some of the products expected from private sector didn't come in, but they're making every effort to try and quicken the process of delivery of the ones that they're expecting. And then in the interim, they're resourcing to what is in storage, and then. Luckily, also the refinery in Kaduna has been streamed, so that is beginning to produce right now. So that should also help the product situation. Additionally, Port Harcourt is also streaming. It is expected that about the 12th to 14th, Port Harcourt will be able to get into production. Once they do that, there's about 2.1 million liters of production per day, and that should sufficiently provide a very big boost. So that's also been fastened. The head of refineries here, and he's also chasing up on that. Now, what are we expecting to see over the next 1 week? The indications that I get from reports that I get from NNPC is that, quite frankly, over the next couple of days, you should see a sliding down of any of those sort of queues. It's already beginning to happen in Lagos. We expect that over the weekend to happen also in Abuja.
Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Pt. Kachiku. Police authorities are yet to locate the whereabouts of the Plateau State Chairman of the PDP, Mr. Damishi Sango, who was kidnapped on his way to Abuja ahead of the PDP National Convention holding on Saturday. The former Minister of Sports was abducted alongside his son, a chieftain of the party, the driver, and one other person. All 5 men were abducted in Jere along Kafanchan-Abuja Expressway. The State Publicity Secretary of the party, John Akans, told Channels Television that the abductors abandoned the vehicle they were traveling in and that no contact has been established with them. The Plateau State Police Public Relations Officer Chiopev Matthias also confirmed the incident, adding that his men are on the trail of the abductors and that the victims will soon regain their freedom.
Yesterday at about 19:00 hours, there was a call from Jere Police Division that the PDP chairman on the plateau was abducted by some unknown gunmen along Jere Kagarko Road while he was going to Abuja. Immediately that happened, the Kaduna State Command called in anti-kidnapping unit and the Jere Division along with Kagarko and some other units in the police to mount surveillance. The process of getting contact from the abductors is on. Investigation into the case is on. And I want to appeal to the good people of Plateau that their son would soon be rescued.
Still on kidnapping, there are calls for investigations into the alleged case of abduction in the Malete area of Kwara State, the host community of the Kwara State University. This following an account by a freed victim who alleges that there are 12 other people in the kidnappers' den. But the Kwara State University management forecloses the possibility of its students being amongst those who are victims.
Kwara State in north-central Nigeria boasts of 8 state-owned tertiary institutions, one of them the Kwara State University in Malete. Amid other challenges this 8-year-old university is grappling with, security is one big issue it has had to contend with after one of its students was reportedly kidnapped outside the school gate.
On the 30th of November this year, 2017, at about 8:30 in the night, the police division in Malete received a report that by one Ogunlade Oluwa Damilola, that her friend, she received a text message from her friend, that she boarded a taxi, a Ilorin color taxi from Malete within the school premise to pick her. Cause form that she became unconscious and found herself in the midst of other fellow kidnapped victims in an unknown location. When we got the information, we swung into action. The following morning, as early as 4:35 a.m., the girl was released by the kidnappers.
The account of the head of the intelligence unit of the university is no different.
Some students came to my office informing me that one of their roommates sent a text message to them informing them that she has been kidnapped. So on seeing it, I read the text message myself. So the first thing we did was to incident it, to record it down in our incident book in our office. The next thing, I took them to the police station so to make an official report.
This 200-level student of the university narrates her friend's ordeal in captivity.
But she told me they were 12, that they killed 4 that day. They called 2 out. They killed 2. So I think they now called her out. She wasn't even thinking it was her turn when they took her inside the car and drove her down to Omaro and dropped her in front of her father's house.
The school management does not agree with this account of 12 other captives, considering the fact that none of its students or staff have been reported missing.
We don't know where people got these statistics they are banding about, because to the knowledge of the university authority, we only have a report of one student who was kidnapped, but she was eventually released by the kidnappers.
All eyes are now on the school management to work with security agencies to investigate these claims and rescue the victims.
Meanwhile, the recent security alert by the American Embassy about a plan purportedly by terrorist groups to bomb public places in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is already putting police authorities in the FCT on their toes. Now, the FCT Police Commissioner is asking for the cooperation of residents to address security challenges in the city. He wants the residents to volunteer information that will help security agencies manage crime in the Federal Capital Territory.
The next element.
Earlier this week, the American Embassy and the United Kingdom High Commission issued a security alert over plot by terrorist groups to attack some places in Abuja. This meeting between the Federal Capital Territory Police Commissioner and residents is geared towards seeking the support of the public towards tackling security challenges in the city.
The threat to attack the city is real. However, we want to assure members of the public that we are working hard in collaboration with other sister security agencies to ensure that we all enjoy a peaceful Yuletide. I hereby call on members of the public to come and work with the Nigeria Police in order to usher in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility as we go into the new year 2018. Because of the security challenges associated with it, and also due to the current threats on the peace and security of the Federal Capital Territory.
The meeting goes into closed door after the commissioner's remarks. On the sideline of the meeting, one of the community leaders stresses the need for the police to protect their sources of information.
You don't want to lose your life because you want to give information to police. So I think it's very important that the life, the property of these informants are protected. If there's a confusion and if there's a clear understanding between the public and the police that whenever I give the information, I am secured and the information will be worked on. Because there's another thing for you to give information and there's another thing for the police to work on that information. Because if you don't work on that information, then you won't achieve anything. The problem will still persist.
Security, they say, is everybody's business. Just as there is a consensus among security experts that securing the city becomes a lot easier when trust exists between security agencies and the public, who in most cases have first-hand intelligence that can help to curb crime.
Meanwhile, the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Stuart Symington, is calling for a stronger synergy among security agencies in Nigeria to combat violent extremism. The U.S. envoy highlights the need for security agencies in the country to share intelligence and stay ahead of criminals. Mr. Symington's appeal is coming 48 hours after the American Embassy issued a security alert to residents of the FCT about threats to armed public areas during the Yuletide.
Every single soul that I talk to, when they talk about the future of Nigeria, says security is job one. Also, the really smart ones say there's no security unless the people are behind you. So job one is security is not just your job, it's the job of every citizen in the nation. And I'll just round up by saying this. I've never been in a nation that held so much hope or promise for the world as this one. We have had this idea of a security governance initiative, which is what brought us to this table. But I want you to know the core idea is this. The core idea is that none of us can do anything in the world alone. No one will do anything in Nigeria that lasts except for the Nigerian people themselves. And all of the resources in the world without teamwork doesn't give you much in the way of a football team, or a family, or a government, or a nation. I see this transatlantic partnership that we have as fundamental to the future of freedom and good in the world. And I see you all as the instruments of it. But only if you can work as a team, and only if you can bring into the support of that team every Nigerian.